Howdy, with this video, I want to go over the final exam and the schedule real quickly. Shouldn't take too long. I'm doing this video on Tuesday, April 25th. Hopefully you got your third essay in last night, the poetry essay. For this Thursday, any and all late work's due. And you should be working on the final exam. If you got everything in, then nothing's actually due. The final exam's due next Monday. I'll post response number 15 later tonight. I forgot all about that. That's just a review of the class. It's not a major assignment. And then after that, you'll be done on the 1st. You'll just be waiting for me to grade everything and get the grades back to you. Make sure everything looks right there. So not much to talk about with the schedule. We're about done, right? I'll pause while you cheer. It's good to get to the end of a semester. For the final exam, where am I at? That's up there on the content page under final exam. You'll only see the PDF document. Let me go ahead and download that. Just make sure you read through the guidelines carefully. Make sure you're not late with the final exam. We're running out of time here, right? We got to get things graded and get the final grades in. So it's due on midnight on Monday, May 1st. You can always submit it early, right? You can also submit an earlier draft just to make sure you get something in if you're not sure about your weekend or what's happening on Monday. But don't just not turn in anything, please. You should be using your own ideas and quotes from the works we've read this semester. Do not use works we've not read in your essay. Make sure you're quoting from them, for example, as well, so I can see that you're actually using primary sources. But if you're using research beyond the quotes from the works we've read, even in just one sentence, that's a great way to get a 0. Also, don't use AI, Chat GPT, or things like that. It's pretty obvious. Plus, Turnitin has a AI detector now, so be careful there. Make sure you understand you're completing the exam for me. I've read all the works. Don't start something to give me plot summary. I know what happened within a story or a poem or whatever, play. Don't repeat my notes back to me. Make sure you're showing me your thoughts and what you're thinking about the works this semester. And this will make a little more sense when we get to the prompt here. Follow the 4-paragraph format precisely. Make sure you make the word count in each paragraph. But make sure you quote from the works you discussed for support. You don't have to have works cited space for this exam, but make sure you're quoting from the works. And no more than it, or trying to avoid it and you, but don't use it more than 3 times in the essay. I'll let you use a couple because we're all writing pretty quickly for this essay. But for the essay, the first paragraph, you're going to give me your informed definition of good or worthwhile literature. This should be your definition, and it doesn't have to be an overarching, huge, perfect definition of what good or worthwhile literature is. We've been arguing about that, forever, right? But I wanted you to kind of highlight, maybe 3 or 4 things about literature that makes you think it's good or worth reading, and kind of get away from the I liked it, so it has to be good, or I didn't like it, so it must be bad, or I didn't understand it, so it must be bad. There's plenty of things we read that we don't quite understand, particularly on first reading, that later we kind of learn to appreciate. Any religious work, you probably didn't understand it on the first reading all the way through, right? Something like the Bible or the Quran or whatever. There's some pretty complex stuff in there, and probably some of it just went the first time. You probably had to do some research and think about it. Doesn't mean you didn't like it, and doesn't mean it wasn't worthwhile, just you didn't understand it right away. That's an interesting question for those of you that went to see Eurydice this weekend for extra credit. It's a different kind of play, right? You get to the end and you're like, alrighty then. Does that, even though if you may not understand 100%, does it? I mean, it's not worthwhile, or well, what are your criteria for that? And that's kind of up to you. That paragraph should be about 150 words. Make sure you kind of fleshing out your ideas a little bit. The second paragraph, you should discuss 1 or 2 works that matches your definition of good or worthwhile literature. Don't use Lulu Anu or Eurydice. You're going to save that for the 4th paragraph. So that's why you're not quoting using either one of those yet. But you want to just use one or 2 works from this semester where you thought, now that's good literature. I'm glad I read that. It's worthwhile, and kind of figure out, well, why was it? Why did I like that? Or why did it appeal to me as good or worthwhile literature? And again, you want to develop use quotes for support, be specific, and make sure you get to at least 150 words in that paragraph. The third paragraph wants you to pick one or two works that maybe don't meet your criteria for good or worthwhile literature. Again, beyond that, I just didn't like it. There's plenty of reasons not to like something. But what was about it? I just like, no, why is that in our book? Or why did Mr. Fish pick that particular piece? That doesn't seem like good or worthwhile literature to me. And go get in and go why it doesn't match your definition in the first paragraph. Again, you want to quote from the works, get specific examples about where it went wrong, and make sure we understand where you're getting your ideas from. And again, this is your opinion, right? You may pick my most favorite thing ever and say it's not good or worthwhile literature, but if you can support it, with your good ideas and quote for support, that's fine. We're not all going to like the same things or appreciate the same things at the same time. There's things I read when I was younger that I didn't appreciate till I was older, and there's things I'm older that I kind of look at them and go like, well, yeah. So your taste changes over time as well. But anyway, in the last paragraph, I want you to apply your definition to either Lulu or Eurydice. That's only if you want to the play, obviously. Did Lulu Anew rise up to your definition of good or worthwhile literature? Or you can use Eurydice, which would be a very interesting one to write about. This is a different kind of play. You're going there for extra credit. So was it worthwhile? It's not. It doesn't mean it's not a bad play. Somebody thinks it's good. They published it and they put it on Broadway and all kinds of good stuff. And Northeast State chose it for their production. So some people like it, but we're looking at your particular definition and whether or not the play or Lulu Anew rises to your definition of good or worthwhile literature. And that's it. No concluding paragraph for the essay. Generally, those are just fluff paragraphs that students tag on at the end. And, I don't want to read that. You don't want to write it. So just kind of make sure it's good, precise, meaningful writing. Again, just developing that paragraph. The second paragraph, some works that rise to your definition. Third paragraph, works that don't quite meet your definition of good or worthwhile literature. And then I want you to talk about Lulu Anew or Eurydice. Basically, I'm asking you, do you think Lulu Anew was worth reading in this class? Kind of a roundabout way to get there. But make sure you follow the format. Make sure you're getting it in on time. If you have any questions about it, be sure to let me know. If you want me to kind of look at your first paragraph, I'm happy to do that. I'm not going to proofread your essay. There's no self-review or peer review or anything like that. It's kind of your thoughts on what's good or worthwhile in terms of literature after having taken this class. If you have any questions about it, be sure to let me know. And we will talk to you later. What do we got there? There we go. Bye-bye.